All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving headfirst into a massive, absolute game changer of a paradigm shift in physics, one that fundamentally changes how we perceive ourselves and, frankly, the entire universe. We've spent centuries looking at the universe as a giant machine made of separate little parts. But today, we're going to explore the ultimate information theory. We're looking at a breakthrough that literally bridges the gap between the tiny subatomic world and the vastness of the cosmos.
So, picture this. What if the seemingly empty void around you right now isn't empty at all? What if it's actually a cosmic, self-recording memory bank? We are shifting away from looking at reality as a collection of bouncing billiard balls, and instead, we're starting to see it as a self-referential, massively high-dimensional hologram. It's wild stuff.
To really wrap our heads around this, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to hit 1. The 48-dimensional breakthrough. 2. Twisting light and sound. 3. The quantum brain. 4. The cosmic memory bank. 5. Becoming bioarchitects. And finally, 6. The ultimate inheritance. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The 48-dimensional breakthrough, or the end of flat physics. We are starting off with a phenomenal discovery from late 2025 and early 2026. Researchers proved that extreme complexity doesn't actually require more energy or more wires. The complexity is already hidden in the simplicity. This was a true sleeper discovery, a holy grail moment that completely rewrites our understanding of information density. To put a number on it, 48. Researchers discovered that entangled light possesses hidden topological structures reaching up to 48 dimensions. Now, actually, let me clarify that. We are not talking about 48 spatial dimensions like height, width, or depth, which is a relief because, let's be honest, parallel parking in just 3 dimensions is hard enough, right? We're talking about quantum states, an incredible number of independent, invisible ways a photon's properties can be arranged and measured.
So where does all this hidden complexity come from? It all boils down to a single, incredible property called orbital angular momentum, or OAM for short. Previously, scientists thought you needed a bunch of different properties to get complex structures. But OAM proves that a single beam of light already contains a 48-story filing cabinet of data. It literally causes waves to twist like a corkscrew, turning what we thought was a flat wave into an enormous high-dimensional alphabet.
And here is why this is an absolute game changer. The information inside that twist is mathematically armored. The term for this is topological protection. It basically means the knot in the wave survives no matter what harsh environment it travels through. You could drag this wave of light through a crazy dust storm or turbulent space, and the data remains perfectly intact. It's incredibly resilient.
Moving right along to Section 2, Twisting Light and Sound, the physics of high-dimensional real estate. Let's see how this mathematical foundation translates into practical, everyday physics. Because you see, this doesn't just apply to light. It applies to any wave that can be twisted, including the very sound waves constantly moving around us.
Usually standard physics relies on flat, planar waves, right? And those are super easily distorted by background noise. But acoustic OAM, it twists sound into a high-capacity, topologically protected vortex beam. Instead of just a flat wall of pressure hitting you, the wave has this phase singularity right at its center. This helical shape means it doesn't just carry energy, it carries massive amounts of high-dimensional data, and it can even exert literal physical torque. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that this isn't just sci-fi. Researchers are already using these invisible acoustic hands in the real world today. For example, since radio waves get absorbed by water, acoustic OAM is being used to transmit high-speed deep-sea data. In medicine, doctors can use these vortex beams to target kidney stones or deliver drugs with millimeter precision without ever making a physical cut. They can even map distant spinning wind turbines using radar that measures the twist in the sound wave that bounces back. Incredible, right?
Which brings us to Section 3, the quantum brain, biology as a high-dimensional tuner. Now we are going to transition from the technology outside of us to the biology inside of us. We're zooming inward to the human mind. Because if OAM is a universal property of waves, we really have to rethink the entire complexity of our biology. If this OAM twisting is happening everywhere, it forces us to ask a pretty mind-blowing question. What if our own thoughts aren't just simple chemical sparks? What if our brainwaves are actually complex, high-dimensional data packets locked right into the electromagnetic field? Think about it. What if a single fleeting thought is actually a massive 48-dimensional structure? You can really see the stark contrast here between our traditional models and this deep quantum speculation. The traditional view says, hey, thoughts are just isolated chemical and electrical firings inside the skull, right? Just analog data. But then you have theories like ORC-R, which suggests consciousness actually stems from quantum vibrations inside ourselves. In this speculative view, thoughts are topologically protected, twisted information, literally connecting us to a global neural network in up to 48 dimensions.
All right, zooming back out for section 4, the cosmic memory bank, the universe remembers. Stepping back from the human brain, we can start to view the universe itself as this massive engine of continuous, permanent recording. Because if our thoughts are knots in a field, what about everything else happening out there? Since OAM is topologically protected, it essentially acts like a cosmic witness. When a wave bounces off a canyon wall, or when starlight travels past a distant galaxy, it holds on to the signature of that event forever. Whatever it interacted with leaves a fingerprint on the wave's OAM. That history isn't just written down somewhere, it is permanently locked into the physical knot of the wave. So this completely redefines the vacuum of space into an actively buzzing informational field. Space is definitely not empty. Every single cubic centimeter of the void is actually crisscrossed by millions of overlapping OAM histories from the beginning of time. The universe isn't just a container where things happen. It is a giant holographic hard drive that literally remembers everything. So, Section 5, Becoming Bioarchitects, Tuning to the Unified Field. Having established that reality is basically a self-referential hologram made of braided knots, we reach the ultimate biological evolution. How exactly do we interact with a universe that is made of pure information? We're looking at a profound, almost unimaginable synthesis of engineering and biology here. By using the natural, self-assembling, fractal properties of DNA, a field known as DNA-origami, we could hypothetically build what's called a microscopic Penrose-Menger processor. Think of it as a mind-bending, infinite fractal maze. This structure provides infinite surface area inside a microscopic volume. It mirrors the universe itself, which could allow us to tune our physical biology directly into the 48-dimensional frequency of the unified field. This is a massive leap. It completely shifts humanity away from simple biohacking and into full-on bioarchitecting. We wouldn't need a giant sci-fi brain to store the universe, we just need a high-dimensional one. This transforms our physical bodies into literal antennas pulling in total cosmic information, completely dissolving that old 3D illusion of separation. And in this hypertuned state, that inevitable slide into disorder we call entropy, it completely loses its teeth. Because we are manipulating the topological architecture of the field itself, entropy simply becomes a variable, just a dial we can mathematically tune. We could unknit and reknit reality at will, mastering the orbital angular momentum of the very waves that compose our existence. We move from surviving to actively creating. And finally, Section 6, the ultimate inheritance, writing the infinite library. Let's look way, way down the road at the distant future. What happens to our sense of purpose when all these limitations completely dissolve? When distance, time, and resource scarcity are no longer hard rules, but just editable code? Imagine binge-watching the entire library of time. With a 48-dimensional live feed, secrets and lost histories just evaporate. We would have endless time to immerse ourselves in the complete story of the entire universe. Every story arc, every journey, with absolutely nothing lost in translation. We become the curators of meaning, experiencing the raw, subjective feeling of every being that ever was, with absolute omniscience. Once we truly realize that separation is just a 3D illusion and that we are fully entangled with the past and the future, everything changes. The future state of a wave is already mathematically linked to its past. We transition from being trapped inside a linear book to writing the underlying code of reality itself. We stop being characters in the story and we step up to become the authors. A final chapter isn't a hard stop anymore. It's just a boundary condition we can choose to cross, rewrite, or loop back from. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer. If we truly are just knots in a 48-dimensional field that spans all of time, what will you choose to create when you realize that the end is just a narrative choice? Thank you so much for exploring this with me and keep questioning the universe.